Everybody, it's Ziz here, welcome to Crowfall Insider, your weekly news source for all things Crowfall. And this week we got to take a look at the Legionnaire. This is the four-legged monstrosity we're going to be able to play in the alpha. Now this is the first support archetype, and it's really interesting because you actually have to be at the front line participating in fighting, in combat, to build your rage mechanic to then be able to use your heals and buffs. So we're going to take a look at all those abilities. Also, we got an update from the founders talking about how there may be some code of conduct changes coming to the forums. And last but not least, we got a really awesome fly-through video showing us what the buildings and what the test environment's going to look like. It looks really, really sweet. Also, the first video in their Murder of Crows video series they're doing, where they talk to the developers, and so we get to meet each of the developers kind of one-on-one, and this is the first one they came out with. So a whole bunch of stuff. Let's jump right in. First up is the Legionnaire, and they have a lot of interesting abilities. First up is this massive 5-part chain. This is using your left mouse click, and they're basic regular attacks, but they also build up your rage. The Legionnaire uses a rage mechanic that starts at 0, and then as you use your left mouse click, it builds up. And you really need that rage because all of your abilities 1 through 10 use rage. Now also on the 3rd and 5th part of this left click chain, it gives you an AoE mana regeneration buff. So you and your allies around you are going to get more mana when you get to that point. Now the 5th part in the chain overwrites the 3rd, and so they kind of talked about having multiple Legionnaires may not be the best idea. The right click is going to be a dash. I think it's like a prance, right? You're a 4-legged horse. I mean, you're going to like dash and prance away. Basically the same as a confessor. Also, their retaliate, same just like we've seen from all of the other archetypes, where you just jump up when you've been knocked down. Now their eternal rage, this is their C key. The other classes have had an iframe. So remember with the knight, he leaps up in the air and he's immune while he crashes back down. Or the confessor was immune for like 5 seconds. He didn't take any damage. Well, the interesting thing with the Legionnaire, you don't get immunity. You don't get 5 seconds or 3 seconds of immunity. There's actually no immunity at all. This actually gives you a rage boost. So you're starting your fight, or maybe you're in the middle of the fight and you need a bunch of rage real quick. Use that and boom, it gives you a bunch of rage. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Not having an immunity when these other classes have one. We'll have to wait and see how it feels. Rage is going to be really, really useful, but immunity is pretty darn awesome as well. And lastly, the rear kick, all the way on the right there, that's a passive ability. When someone attacks you from the back, it gives you this opportunity to use a combo where you literally kick out with your back legs and you like knock the people back who are behind you. Now remember, there's friendly fire, so if someone hits you from behind, you don't like it, you just kick them in the face. Now starting on the left with charge, this is a super long distance. I think it's the longest distance ability we've seen in the game so far, and it's a charge. You just take off and you're charging, and you can attack either left or right. That's the combo, is when you get to a place where you want to attack someone either on your left or right, you get to pick which way you turn and where you do your damage. Now they also said that the Legionnaire moves a little bit faster than everyone else because, well, they have 4 legs and they're half horse, but because you're so large, it doesn't feel like you're moving faster than everyone. But you still have a movement bonus. But because they have mounts in the game, they hope this shouldn't cause a huge imbalance. We'll have to wait and see. That could be a big problem. Number 2 is Scatter Horde, and this actually looks really cool. Check that out. This is kind of what it should look like. You spin your polar arm around, you slam it in the ground, actually knocks people back who are around you to create a little bit of separation there. Number 3 is Line Breaker. You're going to do a frontal AoE sort of cleave, and it knocks people back a little bit, and it's actually a charge up. And so if you hold the ability and you charge it up before using it, once you get about 2/3 of the way charged up, then it applies a snare, a 50% snare on the people that you hit. So you knock them back and you can snare them so they don't get to you as well. So a lot of really good movement abilities, knockback, AoE knockback, and a snare. Next we get to number 4, which is their big chain, no quarter. Now the A train, the A track that you go straight up, if you hit 444, is going to be a frontal cone damage, more frontal cone damage, and then lastly frontal cone damage with an armor debuff. So if you're with a bunch of people who are like damage dealers and you're all in a group running around killing everybody, you can use that, debuff everybody's armor, and then your buddies are going to do even more damage. But the second part, the B train, if you press 4 and then it's going to be E and E, what it does is single target damage. It's going to be single target, and then it's going to be a bleed, and then the last part is actually a damage reduction. So whoever that person is attacking will take less damage. They're attacking you, you take less damage. Or let's say you're being a support for maybe some backline casters. some stealth or assassin jumps out and tries to attack him, boom, you can use that and they're going to take less damage, which is really nice. Number 5 is Battle Cry. This is like an AoE shout that removes all snares on your party members around you, and it gives you a movement buff. You know that's going to be super useful. A lot of people are going to need that. Everybody's going to love you in the party when you're throwing that out there. And they said that it doesn't use rage, so I don't know, maybe there's going to be a cooldown on it, but they said most of the abilities don't have a cooldown, so it seems like you could pretty much use that almost whenever you want. But if you're using that, then you're not doing something else. Like number 6, which is Rallying Cry. Rallying Cry is the first heal that we've seen in the game. It's actually an AoE heal around you, and on top of that, it also gives you a damage buff for you and the people around you as well. Now this uses rage. Remember, you have to fight and use your left mouse click and attack people in melee range to build up rage. But if you have a bunch of rage, let's say you have a full rage bar, I'm wondering, can you just spam Rallying Cry and then you're just spamming AoE heals around you? I don't know, we'll wait and see. That could be a pretty good like oh crap button, right? Use your Eternal Rage, gives you that big rage boost, then you start spamming Rallying Cry, healing people around you. This seems like a pretty awesome support class to me. Also, they have this video here where they're going to show you how they made the Legionnaire army. He goes through a whole bunch of interesting stuff, lots of different parts of the process. He's modeling it and then he's sculpting it out, and a whole bunch of stuff. You can check that out as well. It looks pretty sweet. Next up is the Founders Update. This is where they talk more about the business side of things and what's going on there. And the first thing they talk about is a new stretch goal that's going to be coming out for a full-time video guy. But the funny thing is, they said they already hired him. This was a part-time person they've been using, sort of contracting out to, and they liked him so much they wanted to hold on to him, so they made him full-time. But they kind of have to pay for him. So that's going to be our next stretch goal, even though we haven't got there. Now, I really like this stretch goal because it doesn't delay the game in any possible way, and also it gets us more content. I really love their videos. I think they're some of the best videos we get from a game development company pre-release, so we're going to get more of those, so we need to make sure we pay the guy. Now, they talk more about some business stuff, about how it's going to other countries, but the last thing, number 4, is upcoming rules of conduct discussion. Now, I think this is pretty interesting because they're saying, hey, we're going to open up a discussion to you guys about how we let you act on the forums. In general, it's kind of been open, like they let you make stupid posts, and as long as you're not really like calling someone out and being rude to them, it's not a problem. But if you step over the line, you can get banned on the forum, which would actually be a ban in game that hasn't even come out with. So you could get banned from a game you never got to play that you already paid for. Pretty crazy, and nobody really likes that, but they're going to come out with some changes. Now, one thing I hope, and a lot of people have been asking for, is maybe make a part of the forum sort of a free-for-all. This is a PvP game. We need a place we can go on there and call someone out for being a noob and not get in trouble. We'll have to see what comes up with that, but for now, make sure you don't go too crazy on the forums because nobody wants to get banned. Another interesting tidbit about this update came from a post, a reply J. Todd Coleman did on the forums. And the person was asking about other stretch goals. Are they going to add some really cool features and things like that? And he came out and said, no, we're not going to do anything that would postpone launch. They're not going to do anything that's going to make it more difficult or add to the development time, but they could come out with some stuff that we would see after launch. Now, this is one of those things that's really great, but it's not exciting at all. Yay, we're not going to get any new content. Now, they're still going to have stretch goals and there'll be cool things, but it's going to be like we just talked about, that video developer, which actually helps production. I don't know, maybe we'll see some archetypes. Is that a new feature that could slow down? Maybe that's the sort of thing that we'll see after launch. So the great thing is it's not going to stop development, but the bad news is there's not going to be any sort of new, you know, crazy over-the-top features going to be added to the game, which I'm okay with because I like the game the way it is and I want it as soon as possible. That's it this week for Crowfall Insider. We took a look at the Legionnaire and all their awesome abilities. I think it's really interesting that they are a support class that uses rage. I've never seen that in any other game. So you actually have to be up front in the fight, fighting and gaining rage to be able to heal and buff your allies. That sounds really awesome to me, but they don't have an immunity ability. Their C key doesn't give them iframes immunity. What do you think about that? Is that good or bad? Is it going to leave them in a huge disadvantage to these other classes? classes, or is it okay because they have their own heals? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, I have a link to all the videos and everything we looked at. That fly-through video looks amazing. I can't wait to get in there and kill some people on some great boxes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.